got to Manhattan. But on the way, when I got there and I toured the area and saw the devastation, I was the first in my family to know that I was not going to see Michael alive again. I just knew. And hope is a funny thing. Some people need it. Some people need to put it down so they could deal with. I need to put it down and deal with what's in front of me. And something came to me that he would say repeatedly to me. He was 13 years younger than me. Uncle Joe, that's awesome. Uncle Joe, that's awesome. Uncle Joe, that's awesome. He was so proud of my career. He told me once that, he said, Uncle Joe, you can never retire. I said, why, Mike? He says, because when I'm in a bar and there's a bunch of cops there and they realize I'm your nephew, I don't pay all night. So what came to me that night on the pile, by the South Tower, I didn't know what tower he was in. Coincidentally, that's where he died. And that's where I was standing, right where West Street was. And I thought, what did he love? I was perplexed. What did he love so much about me? What? And it came to me. And I thought, I don't know, but I have to try to be that man. And that's become one of my main missions in life, is to be the man that Michael loved so much.
There's something about his face in that photo. It's almost as if he's like ageless, timeless. It's when I look at it, I feel like I'm looking at the past, the present, and the future. I'm looking at the Michael that would have been, the Michael that was, and the Michael that is, always in my heart. I thank you for that question, because no one else has asked it of me. And it's a pretty profound feeling I get looking at it.
You all know the power of those family photos, quite often sitting on the fridge. They evoke such memories, don't they? Particularly those photos of loved ones who are no longer with us. There was a post I saw recently here on LinkedIn that just really struck me to the heart. And I reached out to Joseph Fox, got to know his story a bit more, and I thought, goodness, I want to share this with everybody here. And so Joseph joins us right now. Thank you so much for your time. Tell us, where are you right now?
Hey, Evan. I'm at the Breezy Point Memorial, September 11th Memorial in Rockaway. It's a place where I come for peace and for remembrance. There's 31 names here, and these plastic plates behind me, including my nephew Michael's. And these are people who lived in this peninsula. And this cross behind me, this steel cross, this is from the beams of the towers that was made for us out here. And this is a place where I come all year round. It's a place of serenity and peace. It came from pain, obviously.
Joseph, thank you for sharing this. What a lovely spot you're in right there. The post of yours that caught my eye was one, as you just mentioned, your nephew there, Michael. A photo of him, I think you said in the post that it was taken on a beach, and no one knew at the time that would be the last photo of him before he passed. Tell us about that photo, because we'll show a shot of it now here. What just before you tell us the story behind it, as you look at that photo of him, what comes to mind for you? What memories, what thoughts are front of mind as you look at it?
Wow. I'm so glad you asked me that question about what that photo means to me. I look at that, and sometimes with tears, and I've looked at that hanging up in the home, and there's something about his face in that photo. It's almost as if he's like ageless, timeless. It's like when I look at it, I feel like I'm looking at the past, the present, and the future. I'm looking at the Michael that would have been, the Michael that was, and the Michael that is, always in my heart. I thank you for that question, because no one else has asked it of me. And it's a pretty profound feeling I get looking at it.
Joe, I've got goosebumps down the back of my neck as you share that. Yeah, it's a wonderful photo. He died on September 11, 2001, when the towers came down. What do you want to share with us about that situation, your memories of the day, how it unfolded? Because you've retired now from NYPD as a chief of police, but this is going back over 20 years now.
So, yeah, that day, so I was living across the water here in Marine Park at the time, Brooklyn. I was a chief of a borough, a 2-star chief in the NYPD. You know, I had a lot of commands and a lot of people that I was responsible for. And first plane crashed, and the second plane crashed, and we were given a command to not go to Manhattan, and that kind of killed me, because the pain that I was feeling then, that the whole world felt, and that people feel every year and throughout, is the feeling of not being able to do something. So I did what I could. I went around the office and checked on people, and then I started to do visits, and then I got there a few hours late. I would spend every day there until the site closed. But I was getting these messages from my sister, Veronica, his mom, and she was just telling me throughout the day she's worried about Michael. And I frankly didn't pay much attention to it because I thought she was just a nervous mother, and I knew nothing about fire operations, but I knew Michael worked in another borough miles away, and I just didn't think he'd be there because I wasn't there yet. And then I went to see a firefighter. It turned out to be Tommy Casatelli, who I became friends with years later. I went to the hospital and visited firefighters and cops and people who were injured. And this Tommy lost his whole firehouse. And I knew that. I saw him on a gurney. And I spoke with him, and as I walked away, I came back and said, excuse me, where was your house? And all I heard was the words Brooklyn. And you know, I walked into that hospital in my full regalia, in command, there to help others. And I walked out feeling scared, small, sad, petrified actually. And then hours later we would find what was the worst news that 3,000 families could get that day.
It's almost impossible for us to understand what you must have been processing that day in such really a short period of time with so much going on. What actually happened with Michael that day? Was he in one of the towers, or do you know what he was doing?
Thank you, Evan. Yeah, it was a lot. So Michael, his house, engine 214, ladder 111, they called it the Nut House, and it was on Hancock Street in Brooklyn. And when they pulled out of the truck, that week I met one of his fellow firefighters, Joe Montalvo, who stayed behind, who said that when they pulled out of the truck, Michael yelled from the truck, "You can't call me White Cloud anymore. I'm going to my big job." Michael got that nickname, which is a nickname for someone who always misses the action, and they would tease him with it. So he was going to his big job. Yeah, and we hang on to that. You know, we hang on to the fact that he died doing what he really loved doing and wanted to do. He was in the South Tower. He was found about 6 weeks later with 4 of the firefighters with him, and he was in that tower when it collapsed. We think he was in the lower level. So the South Tower was the second tower hit, and the first one to go down.
He died trying to save others. As you look at that photo that you posted a few weeks ago now, beautiful photo that has such lovely memories for you, and having shared what you just have, thank you. What's his legacy? What do you remember of him? And I'll ask you in a minute about the photo, how it was taken, because it's what a great photo. But just again, if I can ask you, as you look at it and you remember, as you just said, he died doing something that he loved. He wasn't alone, trying to save others. What's his legacy? How do you think of him? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things you want to say, but the first things that come into your mind about him now, as you remember that photo.
Michael's legacy. So 3 years before 9/11, he graduated the fire academy, and I went to the graduation, of course. And I got a handwritten note in the mailbox, and one of the things he wrote is how he's always looked up to me as like a big brother, a father figure, and how much he appreciated me being at the graduation. And he was 28 years old, so I saved that. I remember putting it someplace saying, he's going to be very special in life. for a 28-year-old to write a handwritten note a day after that, with all he had going on. And when I spoke at his funeral, I held up the note and said, I missed something. He already was somebody very special. He was already somebody that exceeded expectations. He was the life of everybody's life. He was the light of everybody's home. His cousins, he had a lot of cousins, and he was just everybody's favorite. Michael would come to our home, and he had this level of energy that I've never really seen before. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. But he would often say, Uncle Joe, that's awesome. Uncle Joe, that's awesome. He was so proud of my career. And those are words that'll be one of the things that motivates me in life, to be awesome for him, to be the person that he looked up to and loved. And I always will be grateful to him for that.
Yeah, I'd love to ask you so many questions about your career, to inspire him to follow in your footsteps, albeit with the fire brigade rather than police. Still, you inspired him in that way, didn't you? Maybe that's an interview for another day. The photo, though, that first caught my eye that you posted, and I think you shared the ideas around you never know when a photo being taken could be the last moment. And what beautiful memories you've got around. Well, tell us the circumstances around when the photo was taken. It was a day at the beach?
Yeah. Didn't quite follow my footsteps, but he did. Fire, cops, it's all service. The photo, Michael's birthday is July 15th, 1970. My son, his godson, was born in July 17th. My sister would always have a family party for the both of them. And Michael took my son down to the beach, and I joined them. My son was 11 years old at the time, and I had a new camera, and I'm taking these shots of my son on his boogie board in the wave, going back and forth. This is flotation device, and I'm taking loads of shots of my son. And as an afterthought, I just stopped and said, "Mike, let me take one of you." And he just stopped. And if you look at that picture, he just stopped. He's kind of looking sideways at me. And there's the hue of the sunset behind him. And that's how that photo happened. And it didn't seem like much at the time, but it became the photo, the center of every home and everyone's heart.
Yeah, Joe, I really loved in your post, whether you said it explicitly or not, or I just inferred it from what you were saying, but you just never know when that moment on the beach, I mean, you don't want to say it's an iconic image, but it's something like that, isn't it? It just becomes the photo, a lovely last photo of somebody that you remember. It makes you want to appreciate every moment that we are alive, doesn't it? Like we've won the lotto to be alive, have gratitude for every day that we've got to be able to stand down a beautiful spot like this, beautiful sunset like you've got behind you, just to appreciate every moment.
Very well said, Evan. True. And one of the gifts Michael has given me, as far as being appreciative to be alive, is, living my life, as I had mentioned, to be the man that he thought so much of. And many, many of times I've stood in funeral services and gingerly shared that concept with someone while their loved one was in the coffin nearby, that our loved ones leave us with the task of living to be the person that, continuing to be the person that they love so much and living the life that they would want for us. I particularly share that with young people who have lost parents. Careful how I share it, but I try to deliver it. And when I do, I hear Michael saying, "Uncle Joe, that's awesome."
Joe, I kind of want to finish it there with what you've just said, but September 11 is right around the corner. Yet another anniversary. I know you've just been back to Ground Zero. You would have been there at Ground Zero for many of the anniversaries over the years, but this year you'll be overseas. How important is the day for you? For some people they attach different significance to the day. What will it be for you this year?
Yes, September 11th, around the corner. I start to feel it, like all of us, I think, the beginning of the summer. It's something, it's a day that in some respects, the year revolves around for me. But on that day, I guess the thing that's most important to me is to try to find the pause again, the pause that we all felt when we put down the nonsense, put down what divides us and thought about what brings us together. It's if we could find that, if we could have that peace that we feel, even now, 23 years later, the day, it seems the days before, the days after that day, you feel it, and it feels more like what humanity should be. And if we could find what humanity should be without a 911, then we'd really have something special, something what we were meant for, wouldn't we?